was in the far north of New Zealand, a few miles south of Monganui Township. It was here, over the years 1953 to 1961, that I worked with the Oruaiti children and those from nearby Aorere and Akateri, children seeking something of the nature of creativity. We became an experimental school in 1956. The children were mainly Maori, and the Europeans were of Brethren faith, and the approaches to learning were personal and environmental. We painted, potted, acted, wrote stories and poetry, studied our science and maths, and Maori and Pākehā history of our valley. This film was made in the summer of 1960-61. If you draw closer to this view of a summer's day at Oruaiti, you will observe creativity of amazing qualities, work which startles with its surprise. However, the voices are lost to us. That technology was beyond my box brownie Kodak movie camera. Something of those sounds in language and poetry and story, science, maths and drama is recorded in my book of the same name, In the Early World, which was published in 1964 by the New Zealand Council for Educational Research. Cherry Raymond taught the infants to Standard 2. Marilyn was in Standard 1, and every day of the week she would paint such a picture as this or that. Guy Fawkes, the dandelions that she was so fascinated by, a dance experience, or fish from a trip. Rudolph was also in Standard 1, as was Bruce. The day's trip to the beach was illustrated. The bass, the octopus they caught, some of the fish that they saw. I remember they wrote a long poem about the sounds of night, moans in the night, and each of the poems was put together and illustrated. There were other regular illustrations and stories and news about the valley. Their best work was published in these magazines, well illustrated with lino cuts and drawings. There's the collection of magazines, probably from several years. The large painting was one of David's dream experiences. He painted of a man, Matty, and these were the things that he saw in his dream. A fish man, a rooster man, and a stone man. And there was Matty. Matty lived over the valley near 3 hills, which would have been the Akateri Hills. The Maori girls painted, in this case, some people, and David went on with his rooster paintings. He kept pedigree roosters. Eric was a local musterer, and he naturally brought to the fore his animal paintings. There were 3 starlings which were part of a study. Paintings of early warrior times. Much of their writing was integrated with art and often with drama. These are some of the warriors. That was by Glennet, I remember. There she is. She would have been at Standard 3 at about that time. This sequence is of longhouses, which led them to carving in kauri of all the heads and ideas that they took from their study. This was my classroom, and this was lunchtime. Jennifer became a shearer, I remember, and and still a very good shearer. Owen became a farmer. These are some of the paintings that you would have seen if you walked into the classroom at that time. David, this is one by Valerie, of an engineer shop. Various tree experiments. This I loved. It was a mother and her two children, and a boy who collected a lizard. We did ceramics, small ones at first, and big ones as we got a bigger kiln. We studied spiders, and spiders became plaques, such as this one by Sonny, Dennis. Eric was a wonderful potter. This lovely big spider gradually growing on his tray. Fabric printing was another means we used for realizing our ideas about things that we were learning about. Spiders. She was using grass as an incidental on the back of the screen just to see what would happen. The spiders have now been decorated with ochre and iron sand, waiting to go into the kiln. They're dry. I think they've been fired. The completed spider by Irene. There she is, nervous little lass. Another spider by a standard 3 girl. And this is a schematic thing. There's our little Marilyn. That was the painting that she did before she learned all about spiders, and the one that she did afterwards. The first one is really, in some ways, fills me with all the feeling, and the second one with all the knowledge. A beetle by Eliza, a lovely paper cut beetle. Most of these were paper cuts. A Maori boy brought his knowledge of sea eggs to the classroom, and it led on to a whole study of marine life. We collected bottles, and the bottles became a design element. Somebody found a nautilus shell on one of the outer beaches, and we went hunting for pupurangi, a native snail up in the forest. We found some too. Raw clay was dug very near the school, and the children had the job of having to prepare their own clay, which they did reasonably well. Old desks were used in the potting shed. We see the development of a number of clay objects. This boy came from Rhodesia, where his father was a ranger or an animal protector. Eric was the farmer, of course, and he wants to make bulls. The boy Thew, he made animals that he knew about in Kenya. Eric's bull, beautiful creature. We saw him in the flesh before he made him. And pot is growing. Another ball from somebody else. A pot. And that rhinoceros is getting his horn. The decoration. A bit of ochre here, and it's finished. I like the way she uses her brush. It's very expert, very beautifully controlled. Jennifer might have over-decorated that a little. One of the problems of being watched too closely, I suppose. The bull and the rhinoceros are going to have a go at one another, I think. Still, nice rhinoceros, beautiful bull. Nari was a very quiet lass. This is Sonny's pot. He's decorating it with ochre. I love the way he picked the clay up, such a way to do it. Economical. The other pot is finished. I wonder what sort of design that'll have on it. Oh, some kind of a raffito. Simple, plant-like. Fish pots. Barry Brickle worked with us, and his fashion was just to make his own pots, and the children made theirs, and at the end of the day they'd stand back and look at each other's pots. He helped us with kiln building. This was a drum pot that he made. The loading of the kiln. We had a downdraft salt glaze kiln. There's somebody in it, busy stacking some of these giant pots, placing them. Oh, there went the rhinoceros, now closing the lintel. That fellow on the left was always making jokes, I remember. We used waste oil to fire it. Jennifer's feeling it to see if it's very hot. Sump oil, black and dirty. We're making smoke, as we had to with salt glaze. And there's the burners. The brick hole has been opened where we salted. The red of sodium. Barry Brickle's opening the kiln. It was the first time we fired this big kiln, and he's looking at some of the pots. It was a little tightly stacked, but some of the masks made of clay were quite effective. I liked them. We all liked them. We thought they were great. There's a nice man. I remember him. And there's Auntie. She came and took the sewing, I recall. This man was a Maori man that came to our school from time to time. A little animal of some kind. Large masks. We hang them on the wall, and there's still a few of them around in Oruaiti. There's the fellow with his rhinoceros, and someone that wanted to copy him and make animals too. The boy Thew, John Thew, his rhinoceros. And there's the bull that someone was making. There he is. Jennifer. Oh, Glenys has got her cow and her calf, which always figured in her subjects. Bruce made these rugged big things. Animals. Bulls. That's his bull. The kiln is abandoned. A pot is abandoned. And these are some of the big figures that came out of it. Big pots, coiled pots. The children would light smudge fires in them, and smoke would come out and come through the nostrils and the mouths. There's the back of Sonny's pot, decorated the whole way round. And some of the large fish pots with their long snapper and eels crawling up the side of them. Heavily ironed, heavily glazed. Yes, I remember that curious creature. And here are some of the terracotta, just roughly fired, unglazed pots of those times. Valerie with a pot. And some of the infant material. Plaques were a very common thing that they made. Lovely wasps things. There's two wasps. We found a nest over in the nearby paddocks, and we went to see it. And it became a favourite subject. A shark. I don't know how that alligator got in it. We made lots of little things as well. Little hand-sized things. Brooches as well. large brooch, even funerary material from a study of Egypt. This dog was remarkable because David decided that it could be made if you coiled it. This one was solid. It went into the fire, it blew to pieces. So we had technical developments had to be made in the craft of pottery. Somebody came to get a billy of water at the school one day, and these are what the children said he looked like. It became a description, but very soon the children lost any track of what the man looked like. He certainly didn't look like that. He would have been an ugly fellow if he looked like that. These are some of the large pots. They were quite a massive undertaking when you think about it, when the child had to mix all that clay himself. It usually was a him, I'm afraid to say. Girls made much smaller things. The boys tend to want to make big things. The girls were very good at printmaking, and this is a banjo player, a lino block by Jennifer. She wrote stories about parties, and there we have it, being tinted like a Japanese wood block. And each of these in their own way has been tinted, oil-based prints, tinted with water dyes. I don't think I would ever print anything like that. It's the wrong way up, but still, it's a large block, and we were trying to see if maybe large blocks could be of some value to us. We studied our environment at large. We looked at ferns and various stations around the school at regular times during the year. We looked at various animals we knew that lived in various places. And here they are wanting to show us some of the stages of the poplar fall. They wrote about their topics, and they studied and answered questions, made up questions, drew, looked, drew near to the things that we were studying in the valley. A lovely painting. Some of the reflective work which ended up with, at the end of the study. Design for a fabric, design for a pot. A lovely fabric of a fern by a standard 3 girl, paper cut. And a larger fern, another fern. This was a willow tree. A little 5-year-old stood by and he watched us busy working on ferns, and he picked up a brush and he started to make his own. We didn't stop him. I loved the butterfly in red and the pussycat that chased the bird. Relationships was something we were looking at a little at that time. This was a sundew, a drosera, a native flycatcher plant. And by looking at all its parts, they made up the whole. There was a big storm and trees fell down. This was the last thing that Alan did before he left the school and went on to high school. Another one of our trips into the environment. Here we are, we're looking for some marked stones, and David has found one of them in which there are the jelly-like eggs of a little native snail called Melanopsis. We swam in the river, and so did I, until I saw the size of the eels. Nobody ever got bitten. It was a nice river. Once a year, we had a special celebration. We'd take the day off and sit by the river and try and catch a sea fish. Eels were plentiful. We caught plenty of those. But the idea was, who could catch the sea fish. He's got a bit of New Zealand. There it is, the first sprat, and Ken has caught it. It was a lovely place to sit, and it was a privilege. Those that went there sat and did their writing there, their daily writing. There are a few native trees still there, but generally it was pretty burnt out, our valley. Eric caught the smallest and most commanding fish. Drama that led to painting, acting. The hedgehogs they painted that looked like people. Already the day is drawing near. I wonder what memories we take away, what pots, what fabrics, what paintings, what possibilities.